Yes, sir.
I want to welcome everybody. Nice to see a great crowd here, February 2nd, 2021, official time. It'll start a little late, 6:05. I just call this meeting to order. This time I need approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. For invocation of pledge night, Commissioner Wood, you want to introduce our guests here tonight to do our invocation of pledge?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have Troop 485, some of their members, and one of their adult scout leaders, my brother Max Wood, will be here. They're going.
Max, if you'd like, after the invocation, you can tell us a little something about your troop.
Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Lord, thank you for letting us be able to meet today, and please let the leaders of Jones County be able to make great decisions for the county. Amen.
Max, you want to tell us a little something about your troop?
Thank you, Commissioner, Chairman Widener. The Boy Scout Troop 485 here, we've been around since 1962 in Jones County. I think a lot of adults and kids have come through 485 over the years. I think it has provided a good leadership base for a lot of people here. And we just wanted to say hello. We have a meeting tonight, and this is just two of our young men here, one Eagle Scout and one Life who's fixing to get Eagle. And we hope y'all have a great meeting, and we're going to meet too, and y'all have a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for
Hold
coming.
on a minute, Max. Give y'all a little something for you. After your section. Thank y'all so much. You did a great job. Thank you. Come join us again sometime. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, move on down tonight, consent agenda approval for the minutes in a work session, January 19th, on 2021. We have the third Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes and their son. Have a motion approved.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Miss Emma Warren, are you here tonight? Miss Emma would like to talk to the lack of ambulance service in Jones County.
First of all, sorry I missed the last one.
That's all right.
My day went really bad really fast.
Just for the record, could you give us your address also for the?
477 Morris Stevens. You guys need ambulances here, not just fire. If I had my heart attack on October 5th in our county, I'd be dead. We moved here because of the schools. Like, we have family around here from Alaska. And if I had known how bad that part of it was, we may have looked elsewhere. I grew up fire. I'm an old ex-EMT firefighter. My family, my brothers. My daughter is currently going to go to paramedic school next year. She's an AMT for Houston because she can't work in her own county. There's no jobs for her. The reason I'm saying this, and the reason this has all come to so much light, is because 3 weeks after my heart attack, which happened at Brown's Crossing in the 22, so I had Grady, Milledgeville, respond and was medevaced out. I ended up having to call the ambulance service because I thought I was having another heart attack. And it ended up being a med issue, but the time frame that it took them to respond was ridiculous. I grew up in Healy, Alaska, by Denali National Park, for anybody that knows where that's at. It's a small town, 2 hours from all the big stuff. Our response time as a volunteer department was better than what I had. And then I started calling around trying to figure out and found out that I needed to come here and try to be a voice of a citizen versus some of the other people, I guess, that have tried before and keep being shut down. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions or not, but it needs something. You have people here that are my daughter drives an hour to go to work. There's other people that live in this county that drive just as far and are her coworkers. The other thing is every time I see an ambulance leaving from the Macon area, coming this way on the 49 or the 22 or gray or whatever it's called, I've only been here 8 months, so I'm still learning everything. I said to her, I hope you're not going to attic, and I hope it's not an emergency. You know, like a life or death emergency.
Any questions, Ms. Warren?
We've met on this before, Chairman. One of the issues we have is we don't have an ambulance service in Jones County because we don't have a hospital. But we do have representation from Navicent in Macon, and we have at least one ambulance, most time 2 ambulances in the county. We had this meeting, we had these discussions, we had the ambulance services here. We pulled all the records on time of the call, time of the response, time to get there, and then actually, you know, what happened when they got on site and what happened for each situation. And you're absolutely right. We were not happy with the response time. What was this, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, I guess it was. And we were assured that the response times would pick up, and we kept watching them. And so our response times are better than they were. Our issue is not having a hospital here that we can.
Don't have to have a hospital.
You have any suggestions on how we can get an ambulance service in
I
Jones
don't know.
County?
You guys are the ones that, I mean, there's you know, grants for stuff, you know, like in Alaska, we got grants for our ambulances or our fire trucks as we needed it, or the different things and stuff. I mean, because we didn't have a hospital. We had a EMT like outlet kind of place where we had a PA, but we didn't have a hospital. Most of all of our stuff got transported out. We had to call for helicopters ourselves or drive the 2 hours up. You know, you don't have to have a hospital to have an emergency response system, to have the people there to do it. You know, it's just like there's times where, you know, for like some of the stories I hear from my daughter about Houston, I'm like, dude, I hope I don't ever need services down there, because there's some of those guys where it's like, I don't want them to respond to me either. But at least they have the crew. They got 10 buses down there. You know, I know we don't need that many, but if you stagger them around in proper spots, they're better to respond. Because mine, when I had to call back on October 28th for one, they were the only one for Jones as far as what the guy told me for the area for the day, and they had just left Macon. They had just left Navicent. My daughter, who works in Houston, went from getting off work, getting to her car, and I live off of Morris Stevens, so we come down to 49, take a right. She was turning onto Morris Stevens to come take care of my 2 sons, her little brothers, and her son, who I take care of while she works. As the ambulance with me in it was leaving, and I called her right after I called 911. And they were only on scene for 20, maybe 30 minutes as they waited for my in-laws to get there to take care of the kids. That was the longest part, was waiting for my in-laws to get there to take care of the kids. So you tell me that response time if I had really, truly been having another heart attack issue. Literally. She went from Houston getting off work all the way back home before the ambulance was even taking me out. I lived 2 miles down the road, so they had only left 2 miles from my house by the time she was almost home.
Any other comments?
I know that this issue has been brought up, and we did talk about it. I'm curious where our service levels are right now. Does anybody know? Anybody know what our current service levels are for ambulances at this point?
Yes. Emma, I've spoken to Emma a couple times, and actually she wanted to speak her piece about this. I talked with Tony Brown, the director of ambulance service, yesterday. They've had the 3 busiest months they've ever had at the medical center for the past 3 months. Their current response time to Jones County, now that's not speaking Paddock, but they're talking Gray, is 17 minutes at this time. Now that's 2 minutes right off of the national average right now. Of course, with COVID engaged, I think everybody is spoken for. We've actually seen an increase of response from them since the 9 months ago since we've seen a big difference. But there has been a few times that you may have had to wait 35 to 40 minutes and maybe a little bit longer. But at those given times, we've got EMTs, first responders are going to stand by until the ambulance gets there.
And was that the case? I mean, were EMTs there before?
No, the ambulance is the only ones that showed up to my residence. Nobody else showed up at all.
Did you call 911?
I called 911. Right after I called 911, I called my daughter. That's why I'm saying, because she texted me going, I just passed you, and I'm just turning on the Morse Stevens.
I got you.
Literally, she went from wherever she was on her ambulance to getting dropped off at her car to being a mile, 1.8 miles from our house when the ambulance was leaving our house with me.
So that sounds like two issues. One, when 911 happens, the dispatch of EMTs, do we have an available pool? Are they being dispatched? And two, we know we have an ambulance issue. When service levels may drop, do we get any notification that, hey, we can't get somebody to you until this time because this is what's going on, or we just find out when?
No, what happens there is we know if we start getting paged out for calls, we know we got a person down in Haddock. Well, we know that's the only ambulance that's posting here in Gray. That one's going to be placed out of service going to that call unless something else comes in like a heart attack or something like that. And they may triage that. But our members are in sync knowing when they're out of the county and back in the county. Simply from just the calls that we received. If we know 3 calls that just came in, we're going to be waiting a few more minutes for ones coming from Macon. They try to replace them, but sometimes it's hit and miss.
So I remember, I was just going to say, I remember we talked about, go ahead, Sam.
No, you go ahead. I don't want to get upset right now about it, but that's the conversation we had that Mr. Brown assured us would be resolved. I won't say we, I personally will not accept that we get 1 ambulance in Jones County. If we got 3 emergencies, we better have 3 ambulances, or we will find somebody that will supply them to us. We keep talking about this, about the territorial rights and all that. I've said it at that meeting. I don't care if I have to go all the way to Washington.
Yes, sir.
We will not be denied life services because we're not in their zone. If they can't bring us somebody else. So we were told that it would get better. I listened to the scanner. We got scanners just to verify that what they said they were going to do.
Right.
And for a while it was. And I understand that some of the precautions with COVID now are causing some issues where they have to sanitize the ambulances. I mean, we're all having to jump through hoops to make that kind of stuff happen. So we understand that you can't make more ambulances right now. But when they say, well, we know that we've got 3 calls and we got 1 ambulance out, I think it's unacceptable for us to expect that, well, we're just going to have to wait longer because it's going to take longer. Heart attacks don't wait. It just doesn't happen that way. Will you look and see, get her information and look and see why we didn't have at least some response there?
What was that
And
date
and see
again?
what the response
It was
time
October 5th. Well, I'm sorry, this incident with the Navicent ambulance was October 28th, roughly around 4 o'clock in the afternoon-ish. My heart attack happened on October 5th, which is 4 months this Friday.
So you called for an ambulance, 911,
I called 911.
on the 28th.
Believe me, my phone was locked in. You dialed 911 emergencies. They want to verify for like 3 weeks.
What time was that?
It was roughly around 4 o'clock, I'm guessing, because I had a doctor's appointment with my heart doctor, like 1 or 2 or something. I had just gotten back saying, hey, he cured me. I let my in-laws go home. And then I was talking to my husband, and it might have been around 5 or so. I stood up and did something. I was like, whoa. That's like, because I coded 3 times on the 5th of October,
What was
and I
your-
remember it.
What was your house number?
477 Morris Stevens.
I got you.
So like Sam, I'm in agreement, this is unacceptable. I mean, we talked about this before. I thank Jason for providing this information. Grady has a contract with Baldwin, right? So this is real simple for me. If there's not a ambulance present from Navicent, then we ask Grady, you know, whether it's mutual aid, IGA, whatever we need to do, that they bring us one here. And we figure out how that works because,
Mutual aid is
They-
territorial and really
Well,
hard.
Well, fire departments, there's no problem.
right. You understand what I'm saying? Don't get
Yes,
caught up in my
ambulance is
semantics.
right.
I'm just a school
Cases
teacher.
where there's no ambulance available in here.
Right.
Let's say there's been 3 back-to-back calls. So we know that we're gonna need a couple more ambulances. The first thing that the med does is pick up the phone and call, community ambulance. Community, you got a truck to go to Jones? That's negative. Monroe County, they'll do the same thing. They'll call Monroe County, they'll call Grady. Grady will not accept any calls from Jones County per their policy. They will not serve anybody in Jones County unless they drive up on it.
So we have to figure that out because,
Right. You
It's
know the deal,
ridiculous.
you know the deal when it comes to ambulance
Like I
stuff.
said, I grew up fire department. My dad's still a firefighter in Healy, a volunteer department. Yeah, I've been there, done that. My uncle was a paramedic. My daughter's going to paramedic school. I've been around it forever. That's why this bugs me so bad. Especially not to mention that I almost died 2 days before my son's 9th birthday.
Emma, I agree with the commissioners and what they say, that it's unacceptable, just exactly what I told you. It's unacceptable today, and it is tomorrow too.
But evidently, I'm sorry, to me it was unacceptable 9 months ago when you guys were bringing it in and up, and my issue happened halfway between there and now, and it's still unacceptable, but still
Right.
not done.
work session, negotiate new contract,
Might need to be readdressed because.
Don, do you happen to know how many medics is the med short?
As of yesterday, when I spoke to him, he had 12 medics out with COVID. Now, 166 medics when I worked there, it's been 12 years ago since I
Right.
retired from there, but I had 166 medics. It looks to me, from outside looking in, or looking from outside, that they haven't changed much up as far as adding more people. There is a shortage of paramedics in the state of Georgia. There's licensed over 11,000, but there's only 4,000 that are practicing today. They've even given, the state has given a free ride for paramedics that have expired in the past 2 years. No training, will give your license back. That's when COVID moved in.
And I know from experience, I could go back and take 40 hours and get my license back.
Right, but that doesn't even, right now,
Yeah.
they're giving it back, but that's not fixing the problem here. He told me yesterday, I said, how many you got out? 6, and he said, I've got 12 out. of that.
Exactly.
So I don't know what the waiting period is for those guys. It still doesn't give us any more ambulances. And honestly, I'm not comfortable when somebody calls and nobody's going. I'm not comfortable with that at all. Haven't been for the last 12 years that I've been here. Sometimes they're Johnny on the spot, but then the next call comes in, and it happens to be 2 or maybe 2 come in, and the other one, patient will have to wait with a first responder. And that gets pretty, it seems like hours is what it seems like when somebody is really down and out, and you've got a first responder there, and they're kind of getting a little itchy too. And it's just, I think that maybe a work session of sort or
Yeah,
revisit?
Because I can give a better timeline as far as how strict, placements for everything is on October 5th, I called 911 about 3-something in the afternoon. Grady first responders got there. Their ambulance crew was actually upset how long it took them to get to me because they had just been coming from a call that they thought they were out of zone on themselves. And so it took them, they were irritated. I was like, man, they were like right there, and they were mad that it took them so long to get there. But they got the monitor on to say who she needs help, to get me my nitro, my aspirin, to get the chopper on its way. And if everything did not line up the way it had, I still wouldn't be here. Because they were there to get me the nitro and the aspirin and the helicopter. Because as I was being loaded on the helicopter, I coded. And I remember, like I said, I remember all 3 times of coding. I coded on right before the helicopter, on the helicopter, and in the heart cath lab. And so it's that touch and go on strict on the timelines for stuff. Because if they hadn't been there to give me those meds, at that point in time, and somebody just called and got the helicopter there, and they still didn't have those other meds on me to work with the compressions and the shocking and EKG and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't have had the aspirin in me already. I wouldn't have had the nitro in me already to have stuff dilating out the way it needed to be. So somebody just being left with a first responder isn't necessarily going to cut it, because the first responder, depending on their degree of education, they don't have the meds. My daughter is so upset right now with different things. That's why she's going to paramedic schools, because when she's on an ambulance where she's lead, she has meds that she can't push that she knows they need. And it's very frustrating in paramedics in the ambulance crew side of it themselves. It's not just your guys' side. It's, like I said, you got a lot of medics in this county that drive way out of county to work.
So Don, I would, and I agree with Commissioner Martin, I do think we need we can get a work session on it, but I don't think we need a work session to talk about it. I think we need data. We need to know what our response times are. We need to know what Navison is going to provide, and then we need to be prepared for looking at some either intergovernmental agreements or new contracts with, find out why Grady won't respond. Is it a money thing? Is it a territorial thing? I mean,
Some sort of policy.
well, we're going to break up with those policies.
I thought that they would be it'd be a great thing if they could just come into Haddock and give us a hand.
So
But
Policy needs to be aired out so we can see what the
I
problem
guess we
is.
need to figure out, if that's a local policy, we need to figure out at the next level up, how do we change that policy?
I'm wondering if it's because Grady has the contract with Baldwin County. That's a
Right.
contract that they hold with
Right,
Baldwin
well,
County.
Yeah, and they explained to us about the territorial boundaries and all that, but again,
If you
I
go
don't
for
care, I don't
mutual
care
aid,
about that.
you should have mutual aid. It doesn't matter what's going on, because what happens if they turn around and they all of a sudden they're slammed with a freaking semi truck and a school bus, and they need our mutual aid that we don't have because we don't have our own people. It's having to come from Navicent, or we get our own and they need mutual aid, and then we get the people that sit there and go, oh well, you're not getting mutual aid because you won't get me mutual aid. Then you have a school bus full of kids suffering because tit for tat.
Well, I'm not buying the territorial part. If that's a local issue between Navicent and Grady, then if nobody at the state level can fix it, we can go higher than that. But I want any lawmaker in this country to tell me that they're going to let somebody die of a heart attack because I won't cross over a county line. They won't do it in law enforcement. They won't do it in fire protection. They shouldn't do it in ambulance service. And if they have that authority to do it, I would be one to vote that I don't want to have anything to do with any of them. We'll get one from Monroe County, Twiggs County, wherever we got to get one. But that's ridiculous for somebody to say it's territorial. I'm not going to save a life. It's just that's unacceptable. And if we need to look at having a mutual aid agreements with Monroe County or the private ambulance services, whatever it takes. The one thing that I got from that meeting that I still have a whole lot of heartburn over is I don't feel like you said, they've changed much in 20 years. Not the number of ambulances, not the number of drivers or anything else. I wished our medical costs hadn't changed in 20 years, I would feel a little bit better about it, but.
Oh, believe me, my daughter's going to paramedic school next year. She's already taken pre-work classes last semester and this semester. You know the bills she's looking at having after she gets done graduating? Just to be able to help save everybody's lives.
We'll give it more contact information though. Yeah. When we have a work session, we'll make sure you know about it.
Yeah, she definitely needs to be
appreciate it.
invited to.
Thanks for
Thank
letting
you
us
for your
know.
time, guys.
All right, thank you.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you again. Okay, we'll move to new business. First reading of the timber ordinance division. Okay?
Good evening.
Good
Welcome
evening.
aboard, Commissioner Wood, Commissioner Vaughn, welcome to the fun.
Thank you.
I come before you tonight, there was a House Bill 897 that was recently passed dealing with timber harvesting. Chairman is aware with this. Georgia Forestry Commission, Georgia Forestry Association, cities, counties, and ACCG all got together, and what Georgia Forestry Commission is wanting to do as far as timber notices being sent in, generally they go to the inspector for the county. Georgia Forestry is setting up a database online that any forester, that is where they will turn in their information, and it filters down to the cities and counties. There's probably, 5 of us counties that are going to be testing this for the next 2 months. Eventually, this will become mandatory. So the ordinance changes I'm requesting tonight are mandated by the state. It's not a personal request. So pretty much the new ordinance references the database coming online. It will be on test for a while, and then when Georgia Forestry issues a particular date, that is when it will become mandatory. That is how the harvesters have to input their information. We will be adjusting our bond from $3,000 to $5,000. A lot of our harvesters are already at 5, so that won't be an issue. 5 is the maximum state law will allow. And it also references a little bit more detail if a county or city has to pull a bond for damages. So it just gives us a little bit more information as the process we go about. But that really is the 3 main changes I'm asking for. And like I said, they're state mandated by HB 897.
If they made it a statewide bond where you post a bond and did they end up going through that?
No, sir. It's still, they have a bond in each county, and I'll have a few I'll have to reach out and just ask them to send me an updated one from 3 to 5,000, which is not a big issue. Has to be a surety bond or an irrevocable letter of credit. One of the two. We do not take cash. We do not take checks. It is illegal.
Not at all.
Need a motion to accept the first reading of the timber ordinance.
Motion to approve and accept the first reading of the timber ordinance.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
So you'll see me again about this. I think it's going to be a good thing. It's streamlined. A lot of these larger counties, they have so many harvesters come in. They don't even know who's coming in and out of them. Smaller county, because we can keep a handle on it.
I'll reach out to the industry, they really like what we're taking place in that. Good.
Yes.
Litter program.
Recently, I know we've had a lot of concern about litter. This is an evil in every city, every county, everywhere. I've even talked to Baldwin County. They have issues with it. We do prosecute if you can catch someone. Sam, I'm sure you're aware in making bids. It is very hard to catch somebody. One, if they're going to do it, they're not going to do it if somebody's behind them. If someone does catch them and reports it, they have to be willing to testify in court. I've only had 2 people ever in 18 years want to turn somebody in for it. Most of the time, they're doing it on a straightaway. There's no houses. Nobody's there. Out the window it goes. But I did want to just give information about several programs we have in the county. Keep Jones Beautiful, Miss Vicki, gives out bags, little picker-uppers, things like that. We had a group, actually, it's called Neighbors Noticing. Started on the Grizzleville end of the county. Family started picking up. They're asking people to come and join them. Miss Vicki is giving them supplies to help them out with that. We have signs we post in certain areas, the neighborhoods, please don't trash our community, keep it nice. You can be fined for littering. And also, I am replacing 10 signs at the convenience centers with new ones that reference secure your load. Actually, it says do not trash our community, secure our load, or fines will be imposed. So they know if they do get caught, they can be prosecuted, and the fines are not cheap. The problem is catching them or getting somebody to report them in.
So, just out of curiosity, if I'm driving to the dump and my big bag of trash falls off the back, and it has my mail and all my identifiable information in my trash that gets spewed on the side of the road, is that enough to go after somebody?
Yes, sir.
okay? Because as I drive up Joycliffe Road, it's crazy, but when I turn left on 49, then right on Grizzleville, oh my God, I thought that was the route for the trash truck to dump trash.
That is you're talking about right there at PK's?
Oh, yes.
That is for some reason, that strip has always been an issue, and that's where that community group has started working there, yes.
Okay, so I would like to go just a little bit further. I would like to either put out some hunters cameras, right? If we know that's a high-traffic area, let's put it under surveillance to try and catch some traffic going both ways. Because the proof is always the issue, and then the person coming up to say, yeah, it was them, we got you on camera. It's a high-traffic area, cameras are pretty easy, hunter cameras are pretty cheap. I don't know where our Wi-Fi hotspots are, but that would be really amazing.
One concern I thought about, one concern I have about that is you have to have a clear image of that tag.
It's an enhanced camera to read the tags. I mean,
Nice, pay big money for those.
Maybe a
for stop
$1,000
work.
camera or something.
Maybe a
Somebody steal it.
$1,000 camera.
That's the issue, because I've thought about that before.
Oh, we're gonna solve this problem. Great, it's a $1,000 camera. How much is the fine? If the fine's $500, it pays for the camera.
Minimum starts at $275.
We might need to fix that too. But obviously, that's not two people. The amount of trash that's out there, it's probably 10 or 20. If that camera at $1,000, and I'd happily ask for us to put a $1,000 camera out there to stop that amount of trash. If we send Public Works out there, even the sheriff when available, how many man hours does that count?
We do, and that is, we have the sheriff's office is gracious enough to help us. We've also have Public Works employees, when they don't have a major issue going on, a lot of them volunteer their time, they get out there and they've been cleaning up the roads lately too. But that one particular road, I do not understand why it is a major issue.
$1,000 camera under surveillance, it'll stop. We catch
Do
a
we
few
have
of
any
them.
power or Wi-Fi anywhere near where we could put that camera?
Who's gonna monitor the camera to go back to watch all the hours of footage?
There's some cameras that lithium batteries will last for months, 10,000 pictures on it, and cell phone compatible. It'll ping cell pictures every time, or something.
Well, it's gonna ping every time a car goes down the road.
As much trash as there, it may
There's
ping a lot of
cameras
pictures of
with-
people throwing out
Massive
stuff.
amount of traffic.
Yeah, there's cameras with analytics in it there that you can outline, as a car goes by. If you can get the picture of a tag number, it'll send you only that picture. There might be a little more than 1,000, but we need power is the main thing. You
But
need
what I'm
power
saying is,
there.
from a prosecutor's
Right.
point of view, who is going to monitor the camera footage to determine there's been a violation and zoom in, let me get the tag, and then let me issue the citation? And then on traffic cameras, you've got a lot of litigation going on right now regarding the confrontation clause. So who comes in to testify on behalf of the camera? I'm just saying it's something
I hear you. I'm a solution guy. I really don't
Yeah,
want to hear why
on
we
the
can't do it.
that's
Tell
what
me
I'm
why
concerned.
we can't, how we do
True.
it. I don't want to hear
Is
why we
on the
can't.
prosecution side. You have to have that clear 100% proof that you did it, vehicle description, tag. I mean, what you saw come out of the vehicle.
It's a $1,000 camera. I'm hoping it's going to catch all of that. Maybe
Oh,
my,
no.
my ear
It's-
here.
But like you said, you go back to the validity of the camera and somebody willing to testify. It's the same thing as if you had, say, a canine officer with he has to be able to testify on the validity of whatever equipment you're using.
A camera like that's probably better utilized at a dump site where somebody's dumping couches, TVs, and shingles at the end of a road.
A
Then you have
yes.
somebody standing there, you got a face, you got a
Exactly.
bald cap,
The moving,
you got a vehicle description and a tag, possibly a tag, you'd be better off with that.
Yes, sir.
Going down
I just
55
don't
miles
know
an
how
hour
you
throwing out
would,
trash is hard to do.
monitor 24 hours a day of who threw out that, that car threw out a piece of trash, stop, pause it.
You're missing the really big picture. That $1,000 deterrent is worth it. Because the mere idea that there's a camera out there and all we got to do is do it one time. And Billy Bob tells Joe, tells Jack, and tells Raekwon that they got busted. That $1,000 camera stops countless hours of trash being picked up. That's my suggestion. It's a deterrent. No different than the police car that sits in Haddock, really? I mean, come on. It's a deterrent for those people. For the rest of us, we go, oh, it's there. And the same one on 49 near the ice spot. We know it's not real, but that camera, if we catch one, just the one time, the $1,000 is worth not having to pick trash up every week out there.
And like I said, the fine amount is there. It minimum starts at $275 for littering. When you start getting into open dumping, you're getting $700, $800. You're getting a lot higher. So it depends on the situation that you come about.
And
We're
not
very
to-
fortunate, don't have a lot of open dumping in the county. Litter's just the typical evil we have everywhere.
And no offense, Tiffany, I know you're busy, but on a rainy day when you can't go out to the log site, hey, let's just look at some TV. That's what we do. We Netflix and chill on a rainy day. That's all I'm suggesting.
I do thank you for the report on the fines and everything, I clarify that. I said, I thank you for the reports on the fines and I'll clarify that.
Yes, sir. The problem is catching them and getting somebody willing to come testify on behalf of it. Okay.
Very good.
Thank you, Jimmy.
So we'll wait till citizen comments and I'll call on you, okay? Thank you. On number 3, I need a motion to postpone the golf program. Mr. Goins couldn't be here tonight.
Motion to postpone the golf program, Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Uh,
Okay, thank you. Approval of issue of RFP for the fire engine, Mr. Risen?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. These next two items were items that were included in the SPLOST and also items that were included in the bond issue. And so we're just requesting permission tonight to accept proposals for both of these. One is the fire engines there, and we think we can afford 3 fire engines with the, there was 1.3 million total in the SPLOST. We included $1 million in the bond issue. And then there was about $1 million in the bond issue for the sheriff's office for CAD and mapping related systems. And we don't think that'll take the whole $1 million, but we're just asking for permission to request proposals on those two items.
I've got a question with that RFP, are we gonna look at the lease deal or just purchase? I can ask, come on, Don, maybe that's.
I thought we got past that part.
I'll give-
The,
You come on. I don't want to steal your thunder or anything.
remember, I didn't get into that meeting, Thomas was there.
Yeah. We met some with Stiefel, the financial advisors that you guys have seen a good bit of here lately. We looked through some of the lease proposals. We looked at the cost to buy outright. Their feeling was, as we talked through it all, was that we'd come out ahead by just buying 3 outright. So.
Okay, great. That's all, I wonder what we have decided. I think, last I heard, we were still looking into it, to see what the best financial option was.
Yeah.
That's, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Okay, thanks. I didn't get to that meeting, and I'm glad he was here to answer that. But I think you guys have got a 69-page spec. We're going for commercial grade trucks, exactly what we have now, not what we just bought last year, but the commercial grade. We'll be going with the Freightliner, and we'll get more for our money instead of less, because the custom-made fire trucks now are right at $500,000, and that is a fact. We're looking at 300,000, somewhere in that range with that spec, and it's exactly what we have in our stations right now, except for the new one. Internationals, they're having problems with the internationals right now, but we're looking for the Freightliner this go round. So.
They're not using Mac? Just curiosity.
Mac is too pricey. We've got a 60 Mac right now that's antique, but
What a price is it?
it's very pricey.
Any questions for Donna?
Yeah, Mack would be better for a like a tanker chassis, and that was a question I had. Fire knockers are great for a small,
I agree.
little thing. But if I have a X-size house burning, I'm trying to figure where in your plans are we looking at 3,500 gallon tandem axle like on a dump truck chassis, 3,500 gallon pumper tanker, show up. I have one driver that just replaced three fire knocker drivers.
Thank you.
It's gonna cut down on your labor required, your drivers required. It frees up men to actually fight fire or do rescue work or extrication or rescue, whatever it may be, suppression, overhaul.
The tanker would be fine. The tandem is what I'm concerned with, and don't get me wrong, the water would be fine. Or all these, the three pumpers will have 1,000 gallons or more on the trucks. And with the knockers in place and doing a fast shuttle, I think we can do just as well as that. I have a big problem with the tandem, and with some of the pig paths we've got in the county.
You wouldn't take a
Right.
truck like that off the roadway out in the
Right.
middle of a pasture or front yard, because you will find the nearest septic tank or stop hole from 20, 30 years ago. The thing is, you lay a line up a driveway and you pump. That pumper tanker you pump to the house. But I'm just wondering, in our last ISO audit, we had a waiver for the water shuttle. And if we had to perform that again, could we do it with getting enough
Absolutely,
volunteers?
yes. Absolutely.
I just know a lot of our surrounding counties have tankers, and they potentially have, lower ISO or,
You got to remember, and I know that you know this, John, 1,000 gallons on our Class A pumper, and we've got 15 to 2,000 gallons on each one of the knockers. So now these are old, but they get the job done once we do the dump tank, and I think that it'd be sufficient. I'm concerned about the tandem and getting it out there.
well, even if you did some larger single axle tankers on a heavier chassis. But the thing is the fire knockers, you're depending on a supersized lawnmower motor back there to pump water, and it's hit and miss, and
I'm with you on that.
they're hit and miss.
So,
They're getting
chassis
some
are
age
good,
on 'em.
But, I know the county desperately need a fire engine. I'm not trying to stop that, but I'm just trying to think. We have had a work session on running water lines. That's got awful expensive on putting hydrants and water lines across the county. But I'm looking at many rural residents that are paying out for fire insurance. And if tankers could be put into the plan, something more than a fire knocker, something pumper tanker,
You won't never see me buy a knocker.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
not
just
even
trying to
in
think
my
if I was
vocabulary.
upgrading, thinking about ISO next time we're passing, because, next time we won't be able to get the waiver. We'll have to demonstrate the skills of the water shuttle. So, it'd be very difficult to get a waiver.
and I can
We'll
honestly,
demonstrate it. We'll do it anytime, any day.
and I can honestly say, I think that depending on where you are in the county, you have some different needs as you address fires. I can't begin to imagine what those things are rolling out to Juliet or some other more rural area.
Yes, sir.
But in my district in particular, that's a solution for some of the immediate needs, like on Bethune, where that house burned. And I don't know all the extenuating factors as to why houses burned, or even the one that I was in on McCreary Drive that burned. But there may be, to John's point, not only an ISO need, but in certain areas that truck will do what it's supposed to do. So I am concerned about ISO ratings, and I have been for a while. And most recently, like last week, I got my insurance bill, and then I called and asked my agent. They said it's because you're rated at a class 5. And they said when Jones County did its thing and Bibb County did its thing, and Kingsview Village in particular, we lost some protection. So my insurance went from $565 to $949 on 7 properties. That's $3,500. And so those are my concerns as an individual. And obviously I can pay the insurance, but for the other people that are on fixed incomes, how do we really address our purchases and align them to a plan to improve our ISO rating? And that's what I really want to do. If we've got $1 million, let's balance it out with the right equipment that we need while meeting the needs of the constituents to lower the insurance rates. Because when I got my insurance on my house and they re-rated it, it went from $1,800 to $2,700. And
Was
the
this
fire,
in bib?
no, I'm can't joke about. And the fire hydrant's literally at the end of my driveway. That was a $700 increase. So I'm keenly interested because
Yeah.
I wasted an extra $4,200 this year.
But it's at a class 5. When I came here 12 years ago, we were at a 8.
All
And
right.
I've brought it down to a 5. Without the water, we will not be any more than, this time we'll probably score a 4 this next go round. With our training and some other things that we didn't have in place at that time. They were taking the first or the last 3 years worth. So I wasn't here, but I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying it wasn't there.
Right, right.
So we moved to a 5. Our next point is going for a 4. And it's going to be tight getting a 4, but I think we can reach there. But water source is the main thing. More the water, the better off we're going to be.
Right.
More plugs, the
Gotcha.
better off we're going to be.
Can you do me this
Right.
thing? Because I asked for this a while ago. 2 months. Can you get us what it would take us, the 4, and then to go to the 3? And in a level of detail that makes sense for us, I don't want to know compression ratios and all that. What do we need to do to get you to a 3? Equipment, personnel, and money, right? Because we're going into a budget cycle, and I'd rather be prepared for that. Because any savings that we can pass on to our constituents, that's what's important to me, while making us safe.
This no problem.
Great.
It's in black and white,
Awesome.
exactly what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
And what we have and what we don't have. So it's pretty simple. You'll just add up the numbers and you'll see where we come up short.
Yeah, I just want to be
And that
intentional.
ratio is the water source.
Yeah, I just want to be intentional about how we move with our water plans, and our splash dollars and going into the next budget.
And at this time, I still stand with 3 pumpers at this time. We have money to go and do didn't want to do it, I wanted to save it, but a pumper tanker, but that's going to serve the whole county. So it'll be a very busy unit. So that won't be a problem.
Okay.
It would need to be centrally located where it could be picked up and
Right.
carried any direction. But think about the tanker. One man's doing three men or women's job when he gets in that cab, because he just pulled 3 trucks with him in one vehicle. And that's going to free up people. Because we have a good many personnel, but at certain times of the day we are short on volunteers, or depends on what medicals or rescues or whatever's busy.
I agree.
I'm just thinking, sometimes you have to do more with less, but you put a person in a bigger truck that hauls, he's the supply person. And you can, a lot of times you may just need those 4 or 5 or 6 people fighting the fire, that one
I
driver
agree.
bringing the water to feed up
agree.
everybody. It can make a difference. So I'm just, so.
Any questions or comments?
One other question, these 3 trucks going out for RF, the units they're replacing, are we gonna rehab them, like leaking valves, leaking pumps, and maybe repurpose them? Because we have basically no spare engines in the county. We need some
Right.
spares that are fit to fight
Right.
fire.
We've got to put out 5B is going out of service.
Mhm.
It's not in compliant anymore. It's 400 gallons per minute. Number 9, it's out of compliant. So we've got the 2 to replace, but you know what I'm going to do is 12, 8, and 4 and push out. And then put the other one as a spare,
Right.
which will give us extra points
Right.
also. Which we didn't have before either. It was,
Yeah, spares are.
we only missed it 4 by just a few points, but I don't think having a spare truck would have made a big difference then, because it was training and a few other small things.
Correct. A spare unit, and then looking at some of the other, actually the fire knockers you have in the stations now, what can be equipped on those trucks to get the most points for that vehicle?
We use those as service trucks.
But do they have
So-
everything needed on them?
Ladder, all the ladders required for a Class A pumper, 2 breathing apparatuses, the pump, which is really don't get any points on, but
It's a service vehicle.
it's a service vehicle is what we get.
Okay.
and
As long as we're
accountability
checking
of
off every
water.
box and maximizing our points, that's the way you win the battle with ISO and get a lower rating without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, there
It's a
were,
lot of-
every one of them were rated service vehicles.
Okay, very good.
Any more questions? All right, well, for approval for RFP for fire engines, thank you, Don.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For approval for RFP for fire engines, I'm entertaining a motion.
Make a motion to approve the, issue the RFP for fire engines.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second, any more discussion? None, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you all.
Uh,
We need it.
Any questions on CAD and mapping system for Mr. Risner? If none, I entertain a motion.
Chairman, what all does that cover, the CAD? That's not part of the software we're talking about with the Tyler, but does that have anything to do with, P&Z or fire department or animal welfare? Is that,
No,
or is it all calls going out or just 911?
I think there would obviously be or not obviously, there would be a tie-in with the fire department dispatching those calls. But in terms of P&Z and animal services and that type of thing, I don't think there'd necessarily be a connection between those two.
Okay. So will that help any of the, we heard a while ago that they dialed 911 in an ambulance. It's probably my ignorance, but I don't know how much of the connection is there between, if a 911 call goes out, I understand it goes through the sheriff's office, but does our fire department or rescue automatically hear that, or they know that, or is that the connection we're trying to get with a CAD program?
Don can speak to this a lot better than I could, but
Let's say I'm at the house, I dial 911.
Okay.
Is the sheriff here?
No, yes, he's in the hallway.
Okay.
Go ahead and get him, he's gonna love you for it.
Jason, is this is the new system going in at the sheriff's office?
yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I need to know. It's much
That's
needed.
all right, Don.
Yeah,
Don,
it's
you're
all,
all right.
it's all we need to know. It's
You're
much
all right.
needed.
I think the sort of the quick answer to yours is,
Yeah, he told me to go ahead.
yeah.
I'm afraid of that.
He said you're doing a good job, didn't
Yeah. Let's say I'm at the house, I call 911, automatically, there in the dispatch center, lights up my address. Now, if I'm using my hard line, and I do still have a hard line at the house, it'll say 180 Lee Drive, Gray, Georgia. They'll pick it up, their dispatch operators, and will ask what the problem is, and so on and so on. They'll re-verify the address, get a callback number, and from there, they'll finish out putting the information in the CAD system, and then they dispatch on the radio with a tone and gives out the call. The CAD is a enormous numbers. Everything that you want to know about that call is going to be taken care of by the CAD, which is a necessity. Is paramount for this time. I'm not sure what type he's going to get, but it'll help. And actually, it will help us with ISO too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it will. It'll
This
be.
is the one we talked about in budget here for the sheriff's department that connects all those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, same one.
This is much needed on dispatching.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the RFP for CAD and mapping systems, Chairman.
Second.
Second. Got 2 seconds. You'll go ahead and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it, thank you. No old business. Don, you got anything on department heads?
Really, I'm very appreciative that we're starting to replace the trucks, because there is a place for 2 tankers in my plan before I retire. And it will be, in the next 5 years, we can make this happen, and do good with it. And we can put 5,000 gallons right there on the ground with 2 of them. I'm still a little worried about the tandems and some of our drivers. But John, you're completely right with thinking
I'm just thinking
in that.
26 years of listening to radio.
Yeah.
And you get a big working house fire, and people screaming, "I'm out of water. Send me every knocker you got."
Right.
You know, you could eliminate that kind of worry. There's other things to worry about on the fire ground.
This week is severe weather awareness. I've done a big write-up on Facebook on our page, the Jones County EMA. It's Jones County, Georgia EMA is what what it gives for each day. There's a different scheme. I forgot what the day was. It's been that busy. Yesterday was weather radio. If you didn't have one, or prepare yourself to receive a call, whether it's an alert system of some sort, like either by radio or your phone. And of course, our system here at the county. And whoever had put it, you had put it, Shannon, you had put it on our website with the code red. And it's, I reiterated again in the news profile for the county too. So if you click on that, you'll get some good points. 9 o'clock in the morning, we'll be doing a siren test for the schools. They're going to go through their motions, and we go through our motions. So 9 o'clock in the morning, the sirens will be blowing. So, but that's all I got. I appreciate y'all.
Ms. Davis, you got anything tonight? Teresa?
I was going to update the board on situation we ran into after the last meeting. You recall we had the selection of the CDBG consultant and the CHIP consultant on the agenda. We had gone through a procurement process there. So the board selected Gilbert and Associates to do both of those projects. So we notified Gilbert and Associates that they had been selected, and Gilbert and Associates responded and said that because of the short deadline on CHIP, they wouldn't be able to do that. And they said because of the fact that they had already accepted as many CDBGs as they planned to accept, they weren't going to be able to do our CDBG administration work either. And so so there are probably several options, and I just kind of wanted to lay all this out for you. I don't know if we could take any action tonight, but just wanted to mention this to everyone. So I think your options at this point, we're basically out of luck on the CHIP. Not basically, we are out of luck on the CHIP. There was a short deadline there, and I was aware of that. And so now we're past that deadline. So we're out of luck for this round on CHIP. CDBG. DCA is just in the process of establishing the due date there, and talking to Greg Boyke, it looks like that's going to be June 6th. So there's a little bit of time to work on that, and that's the larger of the two programs, $750,000, and so in terms of who we work with on that, I think you have several different options. You could drop back to the second ranked consultant who was grant specialist Sherry Kurtz, you could, you know, if the board sees fit to use one of the other consultants for some reason that submitted, you could select one of the others. There were two other companies that submitted for CDBG. There's a third option. Well, two more options. So you could throw out that procurement entirely and start over. There's a 30-day advertisement requirement and that type of thing that we'd have to work through, but you could throw it out and start over. And then the fourth option is DCA allows you to work with a regional commission without going through the procurement process. The catch on that one is our regional commission doesn't do housing grants. And so, but there are several around the state that do. The one in the Augusta area does, and then there are two others in the state that I can't recall, but they also do CDBG work. And so you could contract directly with them without having to go through that procurement, and it would speed things up by about 30 days. So, we've got a little bit of time, but you know, the sooner we can sort through that and make a decision, the better, I think. But I think those are kind of your four options now. Drop back to one of the others, drop back to number two, drop back to one of the others, throw it out and start over, or contract with a regional commission in Georgia. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there and answer any questions y'all might have, or any thoughts on all that.
What kind of chat for me is that the fact that these people put in a proposal, knowing the short-term deadline we had, and then backed out on it, costing us all this, you know, opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem I'm having right now.
Yeah, that doesn't sit well with me either.
Not at all.
So you got a recommendation, go with one of the other three or start over? My fear is anything regional commission is going to be, you know, by the time they won't know the local area, they're going to have to learn a lot, they're going to have to, you know, I could be wrong, but that's just my thinking on it.
In terms of, I think that's a very valid concern. I think in terms of who we work with, I think I'd probably have the most comfort working with a regional commission, in spite of that. You know, in terms of the other groups that submitted proposals, you got grant specialists that we've worked with previously. The other two companies that submitted, one of them had experience working in CDBG entitlement communities. So, you know, once a community gets to a certain size, Macon, Atlanta, Athens, Augusta, cities of that size are what's known as entitlement communities from a CDBG standpoint. And so they get a chunk of money directly from CDBG, you know, every year or every 2 years, whatever the time period is. And we have to go through a competitive process, which to me seems backwards. But small communities have to work through that competitive process. And so, so one of the companies that submitted a proposal, they had done some CDBG work in entitlement communities. And so it's a very different animal. The other company that submitted, they had done CDBG work, but it was primarily disaster recovery CDBGs. And so both of those I felt like didn't have experience that would work well for the projects that we're talking about. So I don't know. I don't have a...
When Jason shared this with me, you know, I shared similar concerns, Sam, about non-local people, but the regional commission made me feel more comfortable. And the thought pattern I had after that instantly was, well, if the regional commission from Augusta does the work, and we can get Greg to learn the process, theoretically, we can hopefully make him bid on board, their regional commission, our regional commission. And then going forward, we could have a locally trained entity. That's my thinking, that's my hope, and love to leverage that if possible. It does speed us up a month.
I mean, I think, yeah, get with our regional commissioner, see if this is something maybe they could, get training from additional, another regional commissioner. Maybe they could, our regional commissioner could actually do it with Augusta helping them through the process. Wouldn't hurt to ask.
I
Got
agree
to
with
agenda,
that.
right?
I agree with that.
Just ask them to see if that's we've got a request, and that's what the regional commissioner there for.
Yeah.
You just see.
All
It'll be a new feather they put in the cap.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
That's all I have for right now.
Jason, do you feel like it needs to be placed on the next agenda for them to decide to go with the regional commissioner based on your findings and discussions, drop back to the second place?
Yeah, I think we could put it on the next agenda, and I'll talk to our regional commission and maybe the one in Augusta and maybe the others. I mean, we may run into a situation where those regional commissions say, hey, we're full, or we we can't do it for whatever
See
reason.
what they say, or maybe it's, something ours could pick up. We could be the guinea pig and learn how to do it.
Yeah. All right.
Ms. Brody, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
What? Wow, okay. All right, Mr. Scoville, citizen comment.
This is in reference to what Tiffany was talking about. I've kept Confederate Drive and am keeping Confederate Drive and Whitaker Road spick and span, I call it. I mean, you saw what I picked up on the pictures I brought. And I'm every day on the way up here to this meeting tonight, I stopped at the top of the hill and got a crystal fries, greasy crystal plate thrown out, of ice bag thrown out, but I'm doing it every day, trying to keep up with it, not let it get too far. But in doing this, last week, I found a receipt from Papa John's Pizza at the top of a hill at Confederate that I know was not there previously because I cleaned it up spick and span. It's got the girl's name on it. It's got her credit, the last 4 digits for her credit card, and it was January the 21st, I think it was. So it was very recent. On Whitaker Road, a mile from this guy's house, who I personally know the guy, but I don't care. If he's littering and I'm picking it up, I found his mail, piece of his mail over there laying on the road. I stopped and got it up and unfolded it, could tell where it was like Tuesday of week before last, whenever it had rained, and you could tell it was wrinkled up, but it very vividly had his name and address on it. And I said, well, dadgum, he lives a mile down the road here. And I kept going in until I said, so he threw that out, somebody threw it out or let it fly or whatever. My question is, in a case like that, and I turned it over to the deputy sheriff because I was talking to him about it, and he said, yeah, I'm going to take it and see what I can do with it, And I said, well, I'm putting it in your hands. I don't have the authority. But in a case like that, can I ask Tiffany, is that legal? Can you find somebody for something like that?
That would be the sheriff.
These people's,
This will be later.
it's obvious it's their mail and their trash.
And I'll review the specific code section on that. I believe that gives you enough to be able to prosecute, but before I can answer that.
Well, that's why I let the deputy sheriff, he told me, he said, I told him, I said, look, I don't know, I don't have the authority.
And I'll review the Georgia code on it, just so I can give you a 100% answer, so
Okay.
if you find something
Scott?
like that,
Yeah.
if there's something that can be done. And Tiffany might have something else to
Yes, it is
say.
in our ordinances, you just have to call me and let me know about it. It's the same thing as if I get called to Upper River Road, big dump site, if I can find any information in it, it's prosecutable.
Why she gonna say Upper River Road?
Okay.
Because you're the king.
Just cause we got the trashiest.
I was looking at you and, sorry.
So a deputy may be able to do something with it as well, but it sounds like definitely call Tiffany and they can be cited
Okay.
under our ordinances that we have in place.
That's like I said, that mail wasn't across the road from his house. It's a mile up the road there.
Right.
When I turned off 49 on the Whitaker, I saw it. I said, well, I'm gonna stop and get it and load some of his mail. My other question is signs. And I've talked to y'all about this before, but I thought about something saying like this area is under surveillance for littering, you will be prosecuted if caught, or something along that line. But how soon could we get some signs in place? Because Whitaker Road could use one coming and going. Confederate could use one coming and going, and Joycliff could use a half a dozen probably. And I don't know how expensive they are, or, you know.
I was just going to mention, John Lowe was in my office this morning, and he had a sign.
I saw the signs today he was
said,
putting out.
you know, up to $1,000 fine for
He got
litter.
them for me. I have quite a few different variations of signs, anything from abandoned, things that I deal with. He saw those and asked to get a few of them, handed them to him. They're Keep Jones Beautiful. They all also state the same thing, no littering, fines can be enforced. So I have a couple of people right now that have already contacted me in subdivisions. Can you come put something up? Absolutely. I have them on the list and I'll be posting them. Just had to order some more, so we do have
Yep, we
those.
can get signs of there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and, I mean, it's just, Frank knows, it's just so depressing. I picked up a can of Vienna sausage up at the top of the hill the other night. Some stores, they threw the scrap like that out. Every day you can go up those roads, and the night before this, beer cans right now, I got my eyes on them, I'm gonna get them on the way home.
Mr. Coble, we appreciate everything
All right,
y'all do
thank
for the
y'all.
community. Thank you. Anyone else tonight on citizens comment? Come on, Chairman.
Frank Duke. Oh, I understand we are having a work session on the 16th of October. On
February.
Excuse me, of February.
We don't want to kick it down.
On Blight.
Don't put us that
ahead. We've been working on this thing since October of 19.
You kind of pushed it back now. Okay?
Yeah, but we have, I sent out an email today, and I'm sorry, I didn't have all the commissioners' email addresses, and I believe Jason said he would
Right, I
send them out.
received it.
But we do have some issues, talking points, and if you will, when you get the attachment to the email, be looking them over, and hopefully we can have a great discussion on the 16th of February.
That's great. We're gonna do it at the Knox Center.
It will be at the
because
Knox
we had-
Center.
Before we fill this room up, so just to give us some social distance, we'll do it, we'll have
Okay.
the work session at the Knox Center. We're
Right.
gonna try to give ourselves 10 minutes to
Right.
get over here. If we have to start a little late, that's fine.
Okay.
And they come over here and have our regular meeting.
And also, Holly Horton has accepted our facilitator from the Middle Georgia Regional Commission, has accepted a position in Perry as a city planner. And today was her first day in Perry. But Greg, I understand Greg will be with us for this meeting.
All right, that's
So
great.
we look forward to meeting
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
We thank y'all. Anyone else? Commissioners' comments? Commissioner Wood, you want to start us tonight?
Sure. Okay. It's been a busy month, first month. It's been a good month, but I agree with Mr. George. Trash is an issue, and it's going to have to be addressed, and Blight's going to be addressed at the work session. Look forward to that. We got some roads that are going to need some attention on, some that have been patched. I've been contacted by numerous Smith Road residents. It was patched back in December, and within 3 or 4 days, we had red mud coming back up through the fresh patch asphalt. And so those residents are very unhappy in that area. Our dirt roads are smoother than a good many of our paved roads, and it's sad. The only thing you don't have on paved roads in most places is dust, but it's got a lot of work ahead of us. Can't kick the can down the road. We've got to address some of these issues of process and how we do road fixings, and because if it doesn't last 3 or 4 days and the next rain you have red mud coming through a patch, it's not acceptable. So
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher?
Talking about litter, I hope, and our plan is to have the countywide cleanup, community cleanup this year, hopefully the 1st of April, if we get good weather and get some people that can get out. So we'll start advertising more about that. I've talked with Vicki a little bit about it too. I attended the city council meeting in the city of Gray last week. I knew they would have something on their agenda about sewer capacity that they had, and one of the items that was brought up was about when they're talking about more sewer capacity in the city. we talked about the possibility of the county getting some of that capacity in the future. And, they asked my opinion on it, and I said, well, I don't speak on behalf of the board, but I just say, that we've talked about this in the past, that we know that water and sewer are some of our biggest needs for growth. And that, as in the past, we've tried to work with the city or offered to work with the city in the past. And I think we'd be glad to look at any possibilities of partnerships that would benefit the community. So I hope the board agrees with that, and I think they're going to have another meeting pretty soon to talk about exactly what their plans are going forward, and maybe we can get Jeffrey and Tim and Jason to kind of look at where we are, what our needs, especially with us talking about water capacity right now. So if we're going to talk about partnerships, they may have some additional water usage in the city that we could, we could partner on. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowman?
As Commissioner Wood said, it's been a very wheels full speed to the ground since we walked through the door. I have my little notebook here that I write down all my notes in and go back to and look at throughout the weeks of things that I need to touch base with. I will say that it's been a great calling on directors for different departments and being able to find out what their needs were too, and talk to them on things that they're happy with. And it's great to hear directors of departments that are happy at their jobs and enjoy working in Jones County. That means that we and Jason and his crew are doing a great job with that as far as personnel goes. So as a supervisor, I know that that's sometimes some of the hardest things to do, is to be able to know that your employees are happy. So thank y'all for that, because y'all have implemented those things in the past that have made that a positive for Jones County. I look forward to the Blight Committee workshop next week. That is one of those areas that I know there's a lot of education that needs to go on, and I want to be a big part of that for the better of all of Jones County. Because I do see it. I'm one of those that sit up here that have probably traveled every road in Jones County picking up kids, and I see it. I see where the trash is. Go down Overland Way if you want to see a lot of trash. The Blight Committee is going to be very interesting to work with, and I look forward to that.
Thank you. Commissioner Barton?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I do want to read this. A citizen emailed me over the weekend. It said, Commissioner Martin, I would like to express my concern about the litter problem on and around Grizzleville Road, as well as the rest of the county. I would like to share a few statistics on litter. And if any of you knew any of these, please raise your hand. It's the teacher in me that's asking. Georgia is ranked 4th worst state on litter. Did anybody know that? All right. A little lesson learned. The average cost of litter cleanup in U.S. is $11,500 million. And roughly 328,200 population. U.S. she says this equals about $35.30 per person. And then they went on to multiply that by the number of people in our county, 28,735. They were really concerned about litter in our county, folks. That's roughly $1,006,587.05 is what the litter cost in our county would be. On average, 51.2 billion pieces of litter are left on the roadways in the United States. Each year, that equals approximately 6,729 pieces of litter per mile. It feels like that on Grizzleville Road, and probably Joycliff and a few others. And I said, I would like to see the county be proactive about litter on our county roads. I would like for the county to be more consistent about getting litter information to citizens, whether it's on the website or by putting in anti-litter signs in the prone areas. So you guys are hitting one of those tonight already. And then maybe a community litter cleanup. So Sam is on point, and Mr. Scoville and Mr. Dukes. We're going to get there. In different parts of the county, maybe the Public Works Department could work with the Sheriff's Office to clean up litter roads. And when Public Works is mowing over the next few weeks, let's try and not blend the trash into the grass. Concerned citizen. And maybe the county could contact the DOT to help put up billboards with their Keep It Clean Georgia campaign. Didn't think about that either. All right, so I know I don't have all the answers to this problem, but I thank you and the county for taking time to read my concern and listen to the few ideas I have for keeping our county clean. So not only are we getting letters, we're getting people, talking to us, coming to meetings, and it seems to be a big issue for all of us, and I hope that we can put our best foot forward. $1,000 camera seems kind of silly, but as a deterrent from $35 per citizen or $1 million a year, it doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things. And if we do catch a few people and they pay for the camera, great. My ultimate goal is making sure that we're clean and cleaner than we are right now. When we do start the mowing, let's really talk about doing a cleanup before mowing starts, because that's terrible. And not just as a citizen perspective, but from a child perspective. Our children ride the buses, and this is the imagery that they see, in particular in my district and then some other areas of the county. And it doesn't have to look that way. When we come through Gray, it doesn't look like Joy Cliff Road or Grizzleville Road. And I don't know why people just choose to drop trash in those areas. And no offense, I don't want them to come to Gray and drop their trash. I'm just saying that they pick certain areas to drop trash. It is what it is. Ambulances are serious, and I know we beat that dead horse. I hope we do have a real work session on it, and we come to some good solutions. And Don, we're counting on you to help us get some of those people in the data in the room to help us make, some good informed decisions. And if we have to transition, I hope we're courageous enough to do the right thing with Navicent, even though they're a community partner. If I need medicine, if I need an ambulance, they're obviously not meeting our need. And I don't want to lose anybody to that because we didn't negotiate better. ISO is near and dear to heart, not just for me, but I think across the county it's going to happen. So hopefully in a couple months, having that report that shows us how we get there and what it costs. So we're intentional about our spending and allocation of funds. And lastly, for me, my next thing is helping our employees reduce their out-of-pocket deductibles. We have a really high deductible. And I've gotten a number of calls about it. I know insurance is coming up. So let's be proactive about what our need as a commission needs to be to help them meet that need. If that means we got to put a little bit more in the plan to reduce their deductibles, let's do that. Because a $5,000 deductible is kind of insane. $2,500 is kind of insane too. And when we think about the lowest person on our totem pole, that's a really hefty expense. So in our conversations with Shaw Hankins, let us be deliberate. What do we need to do to get down to this next level? And we know that part of that has to do with our counties being healthy, and I hope the health and wellness program can help us continue to do that, to bring our mod rate down and our compensation rates, so all of our insurances can be affordable. And lastly, workforce development. Folks, for anybody that's starting a business, and if you find out who they are, even if you have one, we have the ability to pay a significant portion of the first 6 weeks of salary. So if you are starting a business, someone in the chamber starting a business, let me know so I can get my executive director on it. We have resources that need to be spent around the region. If we don't spend it here in our county, shame on us. If we don't spend it here in our region, it goes back to Atlanta. We administer about $5.4 million a year, so let's get some of those resources. And if we need to train more people to be EMTs and paramedics, we have the ability to do a lot of that training in-house, pay for the training in-house. So let us know how we can help. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this time I need a motion to adjourn to go into executive session for personnel.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
No second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
I know there were questions last meeting about